7:31. Okay, meeting is okay. Welcome everybody to Paul Hedderman's Zen Bitch Slap. His take on recovery, not his take, but his wisdom. Uh, with that being said, this is not an AA meeting. This is Paul's look at the exact nature of the wrong, as found on page 64. My name's Kerry, and I am a proud member of Recovery. Coming up on 9 years this time. So,
Great.
with that being said, I mean, I'm kind of, as I explained earlier, I'm having a little medical situation, but I'm kind of in helo. I don't have an AA big book, but I thought I would say one thing that I know off the top of my head, and you can riff on whatever, but I'm just going to kind of recite the of St. Francis, part of the St. Francis prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Oh, that's the Serenity Prayer.
Yeah, I know, but St. Francis said that, Paul.
He
It's from
did.
a bigger prayer than that. It's not just that little paragraph. It's like a whole prayer.
All right.
I didn't know if you know that. Yeah. But yeah, so with that, I'll turn it over to Paul. Thanks, Paul.
No, no, go ahead. You didn't do it. You didn't run.
I was trying to do it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now over to Paul Hedderman.
Well,
Thanks, Paul.
why don't you continue with this St.
I
Francis?
don't have the St. Francis prayer in front of me, brah. That's the only part I know. I don't have it. I'm
All
without
right.
a book. That's why I
All right.
said the prayer.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Well, yes,
Cool.
thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
uh, um, I think I'm just going to riff on the exact nature of the wrong and the primary point of quit playing God. Yeah. So welcome everyone. I'm happy to see everyone here. And my name is Paul. And on page 64, before they started to go into the instructions of how to do the inventory, they diagnose or they express the exact nature of the wrong. And that is being convinced self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us. Yeah, that's the statement. So self and us are different. Self is the defeater, and we are the defeated, seemingly. The defeater is not the defeated. You are not your own worst enemy. You do not hate yourself. The defeater is not the defeated. Yeah. If we're clear about this, we are now going to look at the defeaters' common manifestations. And then we jump to the next paragraph, which is resentment. So basically, in that sentence or two, they get to the exact nature of the wrong. And how we're going to look at the exact nature of the wrong is by checking out its common manifestations in our life. Of course, once you start seeing its common manifestations, you may see quite a lot of its uncommon manifestations. Yep. So a lot of things that you have called you are going to come under suspicion. Yeah. And I hope it's going to bring you a relief from the bondage of self. So seeming that's the statement of the exact nature of the wrong, the how and why of it. First things first is we had to quit playing God. So if self is defeating us and self resides in the mind, then the mind itself is one of the instruments self uses to defeat us. So the thought system is infected with this obsession around self, and that infection is leading us through our faith in it, truly. And to quit playing God, you don't quit playing God. You quit playing God, but you're not the God that you're quit playing. Yes? There's an activity in the head that's playing God. you've met it many times. You wake up in the morning and it tells you how the day's going to be. It tells you how you were, how you're going to be, how they were, how they're going to be. Constant, tons of forecasts and prophecies. And there's a faith in that broadcast, and then decisions are based on that broadcast. As it says in the book, we made a decision based on self, and then suddenly consequences occur that most of the time can bring us misfortune, and we don't feel like we deserve it. Yeah, and this is the constant rotation because the exact nature of the wrong isn't seen. So the exact nature of wrong keeps rotating this thing, and we are the defeated. Yeah. And we're asking in the third step prayer, please relieve us of this bondage of self. It doesn't say relieve us of self. It says relieve us of this bondage of self. This idea of self is going to constantly keep being presented, but the being bound to it can be broken. And this is the whole point of the program. The whole point of the program, to me, pivots on one incredible effect, which is losing interest in self. It says right there in the third step, we lose interest in self, and then and our little plans and designs, and then suddenly we see what we can contribute to life instead of what we can take from life. So basically, the losing interest in self, as a great guy from AA, Chuck Chamberlain, talked about in a new pair of glasses. We're putting on a new pair of glasses to see differently than the old pair of glasses. We are not attempting to renovate or rehab the old pair of glasses. We want a new pair of glasses. A new pair of glasses is not a renovated or rehabbed old pair of glasses. That would be a rehabbed old pair of glasses. New means not the old, yeah? We're going to have a new freedom and a new happiness. We're going to have a new attitude and a new outlook. It's not going to be based on the rehabilitation of the old attitude and old outlook. It's going to be a new one, yeah? Printed a whole different currency, so to speak. But it's pivots on losing interest in self. Now, if losing interest in self is incredibly important, and the how and why of it is quit playing God, then what would be valuable? Well, the warnings of how self will keep reinforcing itself. And the warning is actually an echo from our own community, which was not put in the book, but was very, very loud in our community, to the point wherever it came about, I heard it when I came in, which is self can't get out of self. Yeah? That's an incredible warning. It is. Because this is what I feel people found they were exactly doing. Something was pointed out. There was a desire to be free from that, and they were trying to be free from that as that, yeah? So they were attempting to get out of self, which they were now understanding somewhat, but they didn't realize they were trying to get out of self as self, because they were identified as self, yes? So that which they wanted to get out of, they were identified with. So basically, getting out of it was a bigger in it, yeah? This is a warning. So this is the warning of self-knowledge avails us nothing. Now, when they were talking about that in the beginning, it was specifically about the insanity that preceded the first drink. Yeah. So we had all this information and knowledge, but that insanity still superseded anything. Yeah. So the self-knowledge availed us nothing at that point before the first drink. But you can expand on that and realize self-knowledge avails us nothing. But knowledge of self is quite valuable. Yeah. Because if you have knowledge of self, you may have a hit that you're not self. And to me, that's the key to the kingdom, literally. Yeah. We're trying to get into heaven as self. This is leaving self behind, and you may find a lot of bits of heaven in your life. Yeah. So The how and why of it. Quit playing God, it didn't work. When I heard that, I thought that was another order. So, all right, now I have to quit playing God. There was a playing God, but how I recognized it was a misunderstanding. I thought I was that which was playing God. So when I ran into this paragraph, like many others, I thought this was a new order that I wasn't going to be able to fulfill. Just like when it says you'll stop fighting everyone and everything. I thought that was something I'd have to produce. Yeah. But no, these are effects. They're not you causing them. They're effects that you observe. They are an effect that you observe. So there was an unknowing identification with the head, and while it was playing God, I thought I was playing God. Yeah. So when I hear you got to quit playing God, and I vow to do that, and the head's still playing God, it's very frustrating and disappointing. But we've just approached it, I feel, off. Yeah. So if you can see how you quit playing God is you lose interest in that which is playing God. Yeah. Like when someone quits smoking, they're still smoking. Yes. There's still tons of people smoking, but you quit smoking. Yeah. So you quit playing God, they're still playing God because it was never you to begin with. Yeah. You did not make a choice to start playing God because if you did, you were a fucking lousy God. And you got treated the worst of any other person under that God. I mean, it's insane. Yeah. It's insane to live under this pretense. So the problem resides in the mind. The playing God resides in the mind. Yes? If something has an opinion about something that hasn't happened, you can't pin the opinion on that which is not happening. Yeah. Next week hasn't fucked you up. Next week, entertained by your head, is being used to fuck you up. Yeah. Next week is not the criminal. There isn't one yet. Yeah. It's the head. So the head lives in a realm of what's not happening where it can control everything. It's like controlling the temperature. And it cooks up like a petri dish or an incubator. It cooks up a lot of shit out of nothing. And because of the great faith we have in it, we're at the effect of it. Because of the great faith we have in it, we're at the effect of it. And we're praying as that God that's playing, yeah, for another God or that God to give us some relief. It's laughing all the way to the fucking attention and interest bank, yeah? You're fueling its whole campaign. Its vote for me is not vote for me. When you're trying not to vote for you, there's a vote for you. If you were in the act of being identified as self, would you know it? Could you possibly be in a condition without knowing it? We've been in many, but so the possibility is definitely there. Could you be in a condition without knowing it? A lot of people today have cancer, but they don't know it. Yeah. A lot of people today, a lot of stuff. So without knowing it, we may be in the act of being identified as self. So when we try to get out of self, it's as self. When we try to get knowledge about self, it's self-knowledge. It just goes on and on. Yeah. So the first of all, we had to quit playing God. Where do you see that changing? Page 63, when it says losing interest in self. Yeah. That's when smoking continues, but you're starting to quit smoking. Yeah. What happens? When you quit smoking, you learn a lot about smoking, don't you? You can learn that it's bad for you. You're open to some fucking knowledge about it because you're not in cahoots with the smoking anymore. But many of us are in cahoots with the problem without knowing it. We're in a condition of being identified as the image the head presents as us. And sometimes that image is hated by another image the head presents as us. So we end up in an incredible impasse where we seemingly hate ourselves. We are our own worst enemy. Isn't that fucking insane? It's like constantly dealing you a bad hand in solitaire. It's fucking insane. It's like playing with yourself, and you're at the losing end of the stick. So, exact nature of the wrong, I think, is foreign to us. I do. I think it comes from the mental. It's of the mental. It's not of the spirit. It's foreign. I believe we are of the spirit. Yeah. The first thing first is quit playing God. Yeah. Does that mean the head isn't going to greet me in the morning and tell me how the day's going to be? No. I found that was a big misunderstanding. I was waiting for that God to stop playing God when I quit playing God. It didn't. It kept playing God. Now it was playing God in a sober field where before it had much more flamboyance in an addict field, but it was still playing God. Yeah. So obviously, you taking yourself to be that which is playing God does not stop the playing God because you're mistaken. You're not doing it. See, let's say you're running and then you stop running. Yeah. It's clear because the first premise was correct. You're running. So you're running and then you stop running. Yeah. But I'm playing God and then I'm going to stop playing God. The first is wrong. You're not that which is playing God. Yeah. So in this case, the running isn't based on you. So when you go, I vow to stop running, the running continues. Yeah. I promise to stop running. The running can continue. Yeah. Because you're not the doer of it. You're not the one who's running it. Yeah. The head is playing. Now you believe maybe you turn up the volume or down, or you turn it on or off. I do not believe that. I do not. I believe the mental state has its own fucking radio station. Yeah. And it presents its radio station as your radio station. And you become an ardent devotee to K. Paul. And you start, all your life's decisions start being made from that self. Yeah. And look at what happens. Our lives look very similar, don't they? Even though we think every minute of the way that we're unique and special, we end up in a lot of the same fucking places. We must be driven by the same thing. So this platform is just to put it out there. I'll put it out there to the day I die, unless something tells me different. And it hasn't told me different in 33 years. I just do not see that which is killing us is us. I don't. And the relief I got, which was profound because it stabilized, was I saw it as foreign to me. And then I would start sharing it as a parasitical movement. I don't care if it's true or not, because if it's a part of you, it thinks it's all of you. Yeah. And so the only relief I ever found was seeing that it wasn't me. And that's why this is the muffin that we cook in our bakery, because this is what happened in me. If you found a magical, mystical way to produce the same effect, go for it. Yeah. Go for it. But this is how it worked with me. It's just all reverse engineering. I learned a whole lot about something when I was relieved of that something. Yeah. And I saw how it worked where I was. And it's the act of being identified as something that we're not. Yes? We are not in that act. We are like a silent audience that's its consent gets manufactured by how the head presents itself. Yeah. Now, many of us have had great faith in the head. It talks about it in the book a lot. Great faith in reason. What are they talking about? Logic, thinking things through. Yet it doesn't go far enough. Yes, obviously. So we have found ourselves relying on something that's not reliable. Yet we can't seem to break that bondage because we're in the identification as it. Yeah. We just can't seem to get out of it. It's sort of like if you have a motherfucker and you're super clear about it, but it's a cousin or an uncle, basically. Yeah. So you keep on dealing with it because it's part of the family. I think this is whole situation we're in now a lot. Yeah. So yes, the how and why of it, quit playing God. God was going to be our director. He is the principal, we are his agents. He is the father, we are his children. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which we pass to freedom. Quit playing God has a very important role, doesn't it? If you look at the 12 steps as a process of time, where there's 12 steps, first has more emphasis than next. The greatest principle of recovery is the third step principle, yet something is held higher before that, which is to quit playing God. Why is that? Because that which is playing God will play God concerning your program. Yeah. And when maybe life wants to give you a large meal, you'll get a fucking Slurpee. Yeah. Yeah. So this is as clear as I can be at this moment. I haven't seen anything else. And if I did, I would inform you. Yeah. Sometimes you run into a last answer that doesn't lead to any more answers. In my case, this has been a last answer because it stopped any drive to find more answers. Yeah. I hadn't met many of them in this life, so I didn't know what a last answer could be. I didn't. I thought every answer led to some more answers. But in this case, it stopped, and it's just been a huge pause. I'm open to receive shit, but I'm not getting any diplomas from any other educational systems up there. Yeah, so this is what I got to offer, is to share it and support you in entertaining it. And hopefully it'll bring about an ease and comfort where there was agitation and discomfort. Yeah. This is truly a new basis. It's not like changing the furniture or the paint walls or the decor. It's changing the floor, floor. It's changing the foundation of our life. Yeah. From trusting the finite self, which is what we tell the truth about, and then trusting the infinite, which is the glorious expression of the solution for many of us. Yeah. It doesn't go to trust the infinite, not finite self. It starts with trusting finite self. Yeah. Tell the truth about that, because the importance of the whole thing is trust. Yeah. If there's trust in finite self and then trust in the infinite, that's going to be the finite self playing God with the infinite. Yeah. If there's trust in the infinite, you'll be able to tell the truth about finite self. Again, trust in finite self can appear as trying to trust the infinite. Yeah. This is why first question the trust in finite self, and then the real basis is trusting the infinite. But first, quit playing God. First, you've got to look at the trust in finite self. First, as it says in the book. Yeah. First, look at the trust in finite self, and then you'll find the trust in the infinite. Yeah. The infinite ain't going anywhere. It's always available at all times. What's making it seemingly not available is trust in self. It's just that fucking simple. Trust is the agent of camouflage in one hand, and it's the revelation in another hand. When you're trusting finite self, the trust is obscuring a lot of shit. When you're trusting the infinite, a lot of shit gets revealed. Yeah? It's the same faith, same trust. Where is it? Tell the truth. Yeah? If you're sitting here being dominated by next week, I would say that's an expression of trust in finite self. I'll just hazard a guess. I don't think it's an uninformed guess. I think it's pretty on it. Guess, I mean. I think it's pretty on the topic. Yeah. If you start with whatever concerns you have about next week in this moment and a clarity of being here, yeah, and then having to deal with what has to happen later on, instead of losing the sense of being here and getting absorbed in what's not happening, to me, that's trust in the infinite. You can diagnose yourself at home. It's not hard. Yeah. If you're absorbed in October 12th, today, at the expense of today, that's faith in the finite self. If you have a lot of excitement about October when you're going on a trip, but you're feeling the wind and this and that and da-da-dee-da-da, the breath and heart pumping and whatever, then at least you're grounded in what's happening. Yeah. Now that grounding in what's happening, it's a built-in anchor. You can't be anywhere else but here and now. So it's not something you have to forge in the fucking ovens of Thor to anchor yourself. It's against gales and winds. You're already anchored. You're just not seeing it. Yeah. We're already rooted in spirit. We're already rooted in here and now. You don't have to root anywhere. You don't have to get into the moment. You got to stop believing you can be out of a moment. That's trust. Trust in finite self has sold a lot of books about how to get into the moment. Trust in finite self sold those fucking books. Yeah? We have believed that we cannot be here. Where did you hear that? Did you hear that when you were 2 or 3 years old? Where did you buy that one? Oh, I'm not here. I'm disconnected. No, you're not. Look at the video. You're at every moment in your life. Oh, no. No. You swimming in yesterday and tomorrow doesn't change the fact you're anchored in now. Never has, never will. But we can live as if it does. Yeah? And that's great faith in finite self. Great faith. I mean, you think faith can move mountains? We make fucking mountains up. Jesus said, faith the size of a something seed could move mountains. We're making mountains out of nothing. Faith in self. Yes? When do we have a clear sky? It's always muddied with shit. Faith can move mountain. Faith the size of a mustard seed. Then the faith in self must be huge because we're making mountains out of fucking nothing. Yes? Isn't that insane? Hey, bro, here's an example of the power that you represent. A little faith the size of a mustard seed can move a mountain. Oh, thank you. I've been making mountains for fucking years. That's it. Jesus Christ. That's like a watermelon. You kind of faith the size of a watermelon in finite self. It's making mountains out of shit. Yeah. So, and then the steps are perfect. So many spiritual people, when I meet them, all they need to do is service. AA is ahead of the curve, man. It knows what it's dealing with. Don't entertain another philosophy. Go hand someone a sandwich. You'll feel a lot different. Yeah. If I had a therapeutic sitting, I would just take people to the ocean, just have them jump in and tell me, are you thinking about anything now? No. I've been thinking about this for weeks. You jump in cold ocean water, you stop thinking for sure. I can't stop thinking. Yes, you can. Jump into cold water. You're going to stop thinking. Doesn't mean you have to live in cold water. No. Get a free sample of a possibility, then you can grab onto it. You can be free from the bondage of self. You don't have to keep tithing to it and fucking grooming it and, oh, I'm feeling great, but pledging allegiance to it. You can stop that. All right. Thank you.
Okay, hey, Paul, we have Miss Volkman has her hand up, her virtual hand, that is.
Who?
Come on, Miss Volkman.
Oh, Volkman.
Volkman, yeah.
Hello. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, I just wanted to ask something because recently a friend, he brought up the question, he brought it up already before, also because he was listening to some satsang teacher who seemed to have renounced his teaching for now because he said, well, I don't use this word, but he uses the word non-duality, no, non-dual, and that he was up in a cloud and it's time to be human again. It's okay to feel all the emotions what we're going through, no, as a human being. And so my friend, he is in this conviction at the moment that it's not possible to be fully free as long as the body is here. And I was also often very confused if it's really still possible, because obviously I don't feel that way either. And so the way you are talking also now, and I hear you talking all the time, to me it seems it is possible to be free, maybe not all at once, but still it is the process or whatever we want to call it, no?
This isn't, Miss Volkman, this isn't free from the trials and tribulations of an action figure. Yeah? It's traveling lighter through that. See, what some people want to be free as the thing that represents this whole place, which is the body. We're not talking about that kind of utopian freedom. We're talking about a freedom or a release from the bondage of self. Yes? This doesn't mean you don't get sick. It doesn't mean anything. What it meant to me is I learned that I could travel lighter through shit that I used to travel much heavier through. But there's still shit you travel through as an action figure. Most people who want to transcend the action figure, they're speaking from an action figure. That's the wet dream of an action figure, is to be a body out of a body. They want to feel just like they do, but without any of the body constraints. This is insanity. Yes? So this is not about being free from all the little mosquito things or anything like that. It's about another freedom. Yeah. Which is quite different than that freedom. Just like a lot of crazy people here, they believe freedom is doing whatever they want to do at all the time. No, freedom is also doing what you don't want to do when it's the appropriate thing. Yes? So there's a lot of different ideas of stuff. Of course, a lot of bodies hear about non-duality and now they feel like they finally got the equation. I can be a body as a non-body. Yeah. It's all rooted in this dilemma, this misunderstanding. So no, the freedom is from the bondage of self. It's not from life.
Yes. But still, I mean, the bondage of self is all misery, no, in one way. And so as we are traveling lighter, so I'm more detached from whatever is happening to the body, no?
Yes.
Exactly. So like you say, of course, there might be still this or that happening, but there is not this reaction anymore of a person really to it, no?
Well, the thing is, you became very, very acute. You may become of the body condition, but it's not yours. Yeah. So that which wants to observe the body as some other idea of self and find fault and obsess over this or that, that is weakened. And then you're quite alert of body experience. I mean, most times you don't even miss a breath. You're awake to what's
Mm-hmm.
happening here. The head
Yeah.
is asleep in what's not happening here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the freedom. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the other person is or whatever, but this freedom isn't like a get out of jail card. It isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
being free
It's
from your past doesn't mean your past gets totally erased. The use of the past to override the present is what you're freed from when you make amends. When I made amends with the spirit of I'm not going to do what I did to you, hopefully to any other person, uh, that idea of that Rossi's Market, I've never thought of Rossi's Market again except when I have to do a talk. Yeah. This is what the freedom is. The freedom isn't all the mistakes and transgressions of the body are somehow washed clear and now you're a super virgin like body. I don't see it that way. Freedom is from the bondage of self. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
You're bound. The action figure has a limited destiny. It appeared and it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how is it for you? Is it like you're like it's more like you're seeing the body moving, but you're really not identified anymore that you're really the body? Is it more like that? That there's more like, or how is that for you?
You know how it is right now? A frequency in the space has changed. And I'm hearing that in my right ear. And now it died down and that frequency returned to the buzz, the always ever present buzz going on underneath. That's exactly how I was right at this moment. Yeah. I was sitting here listening to you, then a frequency shifted that was unusual. The right ear picked it up. It had a very finite life, but it was different than the baseline frequency. I always like to follow it to the end, and then it just never has an end. It just disappears into the base frequency again. That's what it was like for me right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I do not think Paul was hearing that frequency. I believe there was a hearing of the frequency, and then the head shows up as Paul. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
freedom isn't from the bondage of self, it's before the bondage of self. I've lost interest in self before the bondage of self, where before I really wanted to lose interest in self after the bondage of self. That's addiction. Before I lost interest in the bondage of self, before the bondage of self. That's the new basis. My old base was wanting and praying and hoping to lose interest in the bondage of self after I was thrown around by the bondage of self. And I was apt to do almost anything to get a momentary relief from that bondage of self. That's not the freedom from the bondage of self I'm entertaining now. Yes? That freedom from the bondage of self was reinforcing the reality of the bondage of self. The freedom before the bondage of self is questioning the reality of the bondage of self, not even questioning anymore. It's a fact. Yes? Yes. So The bondage of self presents itself, but I see it before it. The bondage of self used to do its trip, and I used to see it after. See it and after was getting it up the ass, tell you the truth. So this is sort of what it's like, I would say. This body has been ill. The lungs are hurt. I can tell the lungs are hurt. They're not working right. It's a beautiful day. It's completely still. My eyes hurt a little. I'm feisty. I'm trying to get a point across because I'm sick and tired of all the dancing around it. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm fine. I'll be totally accountable to that. But if I'm right, fucking hear the message, because trying to be free from the bondage of self after the bondage of self is another form of bondage of self. Do you not see that? If you meet non-duality and you're after the bondage of self, you'll see non-duality like an addict sees a shot of cocaine. You want to get relief from the bondage of self as the bondage of self. Yeah. When you mature and you hear the message of non-duality, there's no movement to make it anything or arm it or do anything with it. Then the fucking desert tortoise heads come out and its legs come out and you recognize something. But if you're trying to use it to relieve you of the bondage of self as self, it's probably not going to give you much. You'd much better do something else. Non-duality is not a skillful means. It really isn't. Yeah. So relieve us of the bondage of self doesn't mean the bondage of self stops. Yeah. The bondage of self will constantly be presented, but you'll be before it. Most of us have been listening to it as if it's the fucking God telling us how things are. So we've been listening to the radio station after the bondage of self. Yeah. Now we're on a new basis before the bondage of self.
Yeah.
You may be in the same room that you spent years in the state of after the bondage of self. The room hasn't changed, but the atmosphere is so much nicer now because you're in the state of before the bondage of self. Yes? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's how I see it right now. See, people think sometimes we're not talking about freedom from everything. We're talking about freedom from the bondage of self. Yeah?
Yeah, but that was the thing. I think sometimes I was also confused because I met people, they said, well, there will be always still the ego around. You know, it will be never. I met people like they said, okay, like they are whatever enlightened, but the ego will always still remain. Yeah, there's always still an ego, and it sounded sometimes like a lame excuse for the mistakes they're still doing.
Yes, because again, the first statement is erroneous. No one is enlightened.
Yeah.
There is not one physical figure that is enlightened. Enlightenment can come through millions of figures, but no physical figure is enlightened. This is why, not seeing that, then they have to come up with all these rationales and excuses, and like the gurus would talk about the Leela or Maya. The Leela is the divine play. Don't do what I do what I say, and it's on and on. Yeah. Based on that they were something that we're not. So, of course, to continue that understanding, which I feel is a misunderstanding, some weird excuses and rationale have to be born. Yes? And it always sounds tinny that every guru that ever comes over here always does the same fucking thing: money, power, and sex. If you wanted to fool us, try to be humble and fucking shit like that. Yes. So I don't believe there's a thing that has anything I believe we're like a flute. The flute never has the note, it plays the note. No flute has the note. The flute is mostly holes. Yes? It's not a container. Look at us. We're not a container. We're open to tons of shit. Viruses, bugs, emotions, feelings are constantly moving through us. Yes? We're a fucking flute at best. And the holes are essential for the music to play. Yeah? If you want to be a holeless flute, you're not a flute. You're a fucking pipe. Yes? This is what surprises people. They believe a body's enlightened, and then that body gets older and goes into dementia and can't even put on their pants. And the people get really flipped out or frustrated because their logic wasn't logical. They thought the body was enlightened. Now the body looks like it's dementia. Yeah? What was it? It was neither. Dementia is playing through the flute. Enlightenment was playing through the flute. I mean, it's, heed the warnings or just go on with what you're going to go on with. Yeah. If you own something, it's going to own you. This is about, can you imagine if I thought I was doing these talks? These talks would be done very sporadically, only when I felt good or whatever, because I would be the supreme influence, not the fucking thing that's talking through me. But in this situation, I'm clear I'm not the supreme influence. I'm being used, yeah? And my condition has nothing to do with that condition. And that condition does not need to have my condition align with it. It's going to express, the flute could be $1 or $8,000 flute. A note is going to be played. Yeah? Yes. So, yeah, this happens all the time. People, we see things and we believe a thing is what's doing everything. And then when the thing changes and the doing that's actually coming through it seems to change, we flip out. And so the one that we crowned being enlightened is now unenlightened. It's all insanity. Get what you need. You need a relief from yourself. Yeah. What most people think of enlightenment is they picture it as you being there. You're going to be completely absent. Yeah. Enlightenment has none of you in it. None of this little puppet pantomime activity. It's
Yeah.
none of that goes in or goes out. Yeah.
To that, I mean, when there were these moments where there was really no mind anymore, but then when the mind was back, so the identification as me, Liane, whatever, then there was also fear that, well, how I'm supposed to live if the mind is completely gone,
Oh, you don't have to worry about that because something will override your idea. There is no Paul, so that Paul, when it's called to dinner, will go to dinner. So all your fucking magical shit you're thinking of, I'm sure if you're hungry, you're going to remember your name when someone calls you to dinner. Yes? Or you're going to starve. You're going to have attendees. You are. You're going to have people either make volunteer or pay them to fucking watch you all day. Yes.
Yeah. It's fine now. The fear has been replaced by too much misery, I don't care anymore.
I mean, enlightenment, a body who's enlightened, they still shit. Break the news to you. They still shit. Yeah. What? Yeah. If you want to know, go to the bathroom after an enlightened master has been in there. It still stinks. It's like everyone else's. Yeah.
Yeah, because I understand that the body, we are not the body. That's the thing. We are not the body, but the body is like, yeah, a dream, no, like I say, also like a dream character, but original, we are always not the body, no? So
the thing is, what says you're not the body is of the body. So, yes, this is you get over after a while. That which is not the body does not say it's not the body. It doesn't have to negate anything because the fact is a fact is a fact. It's not a body. It's not busily chanting, I'm not a body. It's only
no,
a
not
body
like
that
that,
doesn't
no,
want to
no.
be a body, chants, I'm not a body.
Yeah. But it's like you're saying, I've also seen that like I'm before the body or the world.
Yes.
But it's not really continuous so much. Yeah. That's why I'm also asking today. Yeah. Not
It's
only for the
amazing.
friends.
It's really amazing. It's an amazing thing. Now, you know, time is a construct, yes? When you're doing something you don't like to do, it seems like going on forever. When you do something you like, it speeds by, yes?
Yeah.
Let's say time, so time can be altered or changed or bent, yes? So what is this? What is a life of 80 years? It's bent time.
Hmm.
In another view, it could have never happened. This is a subjective playing of the instrument called time. Yeah.
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 So
Yeah. And also space. Yeah.
all of it, the whole, yeah. So, but in this case, we're just talking about some relief from the bondage of self and not produced by anything, but inherently available because the basis has changed. So now you're attending to before the bondage of self instead of attending to everything after the bondage of self. Yeah. And this is the hope that the people that are here that are in the before the bondage of self stage is to present to the people that may seem to be struggling with the after the bondage of self stage. So, hey, there is a solution. This too shall pass. Yes? Stay on the operating table. Don't get up. Don't play doctor. And here you go. And the funny thing is, you're so keen on figuring everything out. When this shit happens, you probably won't be even aware of it. But you'll start noticing, hey, I'm before the shit now, then after the shit. Fucking incredible positioning. Yeah. So here we are. We're here to support each other. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Also want to say thank you to Mickey. Mickey also talked with me a lot, helped me a lot. Yeah.
Who?
It's very good. Mickey.
Oh, Missy?
Mickey.
Who?
Mickey Smith
Oh,
from
Mickey.
Madeira.
Oh, yeah, the patriarch of Madeira. Good. Mickey. Oh, my ears are bad too.
Sorry, yeah, maybe my too. Okay.
Well, thank you, Miss Volkman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Paul, there are no more hands.
I'm blown away by this meeting. It's good. If I wasn't me, I'd go listen to this again.
Michael, we have our hand up. I don't know if you can't see it or what. See the hand up, Michael?
Well, hop on in there, Carrie.
Thanks, Michael.
What do you say?
All right.
Yeah. I just was recognizing that when I'm in a state of strong emotion and feeling, there is such an identification with the body. And you talked about like a shift in frequency and being open, being willing to allow that shift is kind of, for me, that seems like the key to, because there's such a strong draw to continuing to want to identify with this body when it's feeling these strong feelings. I see that's what you speak to, but to be able to shift that awareness to a higher self, or
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly how to put it.
We're not, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll just let you go on that and talk later.
Well, again, it's not us shifting the awareness. It's a shifting of awareness. It's not us. Yes. So,
but when there's that strong identification, how can, that openness to something other than that body identification? I see that's what you speak to. And it's a little unclear about, everybody, a lot of people get caught up in that, where you just like can't stop.
well, there's other ways to deal with that, which are skillful means. In this case, it's losing interest in the idea that it's you that's getting caught up in it. And that which seems so difficult not to get caught up in it you'll see it differently, because the you is giving it a lot of meaning that it's super difficult to get out of it. Yes.
Right.
So we're just targeting one thing.
What'd you say?
We're targeting the idea that it's you that's having this deep emotional event. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, of course the body keeps, the small self keeps having these experiences, and pulling into that body identification is so much easier when that strong emotion comes. So being able to be open to the awareness, having that recognition that it's not, that I am not that small self. Seems,
yeah, this is what these meetings to help support.
Right. And that's what you're doing. I see that that's what you're doing. That for me, I've been able to shift when I drop into the heart, but I know that's still body identification, but there's something that happens when I shift my focus to the heart.
Well, you can call it that, but if it works, it works. It doesn't matter.
Right.
If you dropped into the elbow and it worked, that would
right.
be drop to your knee, drop anywhere. Yeah. You learn from your experiences. What may cause you to be open to another possibility is the weariness of the old possibility of constantly being absorbed in deep emotional situations. Yes? So there's lessons to be learned, not from a book, but from your own experiences. You want to keep diving into that, or you don't want to keep diving into that? Well, in this case, it's not you choosing do or don't. You look at who is it that dives into it and who is it that says it doesn't want to dive into it. If you lose interest in that, you're going to lose interest in the meaning that gave to the deep emotional states. You are. And a deep emotional state will not seem to be like the same old deep emotional states. Yeah, because the meaning that's been given to it has changed. You are the ingredient to question in every one of the soups. Yeah. We're not talking about the whole line of soups. We're talking about there's one ingredient in all the soups, and we're questioning that. Yes. And that's the idea of you being in a deep emotional state or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I believe the deep emotional state is getting its meaning from the you. Yeah. Yes. So we look at the you. If there's less you, there'll be more soup. Yeah. Probably taste better and go through easier. You'll travel lighter eating soup. Yeah. Big chunks will bypass you. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. However it wants to be named. I just don't like using the heart because I thought in the new age it just got played out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, to me, it has so many conceptual scars on it. It doesn't work for me. So we just want to go to this idea of being the one who's in the emotional state and the one who wants to be free from the emotional state. Yeah. Yeah. I swear it changes everything. It does.
Yeah.
I cannot, I don't have a calendar where I have the days that I was in a deep emotional state marked down. I probably have forgotten super deep emotional states very quickly in the months, in the years behind now. Yeah, it's these landmarks that seem so important. I just drive by. And also deep spiritual states and deep, it doesn't
So, so your awareness of this frequency in your when you're speaking of that, could you expand on that a little bit?
well, they asked, how do I feel right now? So I was sitting here and there's a buzz or a hum inside that you're not doing. It's a sound, I feel, mostly. They call it something in some terminology. And it's sort of like white noise in a way or something. And then a frequency appeared as if some alien radio station shot a frequency. And I heard it mostly in the right side, and it lasted about 5 seconds as Miss Volkman was asking me how I feel. So I described that, and it tends to show up very in contrast, but then it blends into it after. So when it appears as a distinct frequency, it's very obvious. But when it goes back into the underlying baseness, you can't see the moment it gets absorbed. Yeah, it's interesting, I feel. So that's what I was talking about. I believe there's obviously the framework of this event is frequency or vibration. Yeah.
No, I'm wondering if what the Course in Miracles calls a little willingness, is that little willingness to hear that frequency?
Well, I didn't have any willingness to hear it. There was a hearing of it, and maybe I stay with it because I'm interested in it, or there's interest in it. Yeah. But I didn't have any willingness. It appeared. Yeah. You know what I mean? In other words,
Well, yeah,
things
because you're not
appear and then
identified with the body then. Yeah. Because you did.
things appear and then you think you're either willing or not willing. But that's an added. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
going to hear what comes up. It's not like, am I willing to hear it? You hear it.
I don't know
Yeah. But I may
where
be,
your focus is.
yeah, my focus, I would say, is more that way. So obviously, I'm not attending a movie I saw last night in my head right now. So when a frequency shows up, it's quite obvious. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
We're
you.
all awake. We're all awake right now. Yeah. We're awake. That's our nature, not physical nature. Our nature is awakeness, or if you want to call it consciousness. It's what we're conscious of, or what we're seen as conscious as, is where the interpretation lies. Yeah. And many of us, the interpretation has completely outweighed the conscious contact. So we're in a sort of a slavery to the bondage of self, because self is an interpretation of life, of the living of life. Self is an interpretation of it. Now, it's very similar for a lot of people, but the sense of being the self is usually feeling very unique, which is all manufactured. And it's difficult to realize, but when you go into addiction, it's much easier to realize because your terminal uniqueness is shared by millions. Yeah. And then it blows that story up. And then you start seeing the scale is way over weighted to narrative and interpretation than it is to living. And you don't do anything about it. You just tell the truth about it. And this program does something about it. It produces a loss of interest in self, so there can be a balance and something just balancing the scales. so that things are held and gone through differently. And many of us have gone through it to a sufficient point where we're in a bias or a basis of before bondage of self. And now we're living from there. And then the narrative is much different than when you're living the narrative after the bondage of self. I mean, it's just insanely different. Yeah. And there was no huge effort to go there. It's always been available. We were the one that seemingly were not available to it. So this is just bringing us back to the obviousness that we're awake to begin with. And it's basically what we're awake to or awake as, which is firing up these narratives. And we seemingly, the interest and attention gets absorbed in the narrative at the expense of the sense of the pulse of living. Yeah. And I feel any way you look at it, there's a loss there. Yeah. Yeah. If you're not attending to, if you're not at the attendance of a moment, yet you're attending to all of your master plans and designs, on paper, your life may look great, but the living of it may have had some lack there. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. But hey, if you're whatever thing is being spun by the narrative, go for it. Yeah.
Well, but yeah, just recognizing that, when those strong emotions or those, feelings happen, what? Recognizing that's body identification. That's, yeah.
Yeah. They're not your
And
feelings.
there's judgment around that. And then I go into a story about, oh, but it's so strong and da, da, da. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what surprised me, because being so interested in me, I thought I knew what it would look like when there was a loss of interest, but I had no idea. And coming from watching a loss of interest that happened, in this lab animal, it lost interest in all the topics, like deep emotional stuff. I don't care that much about it, any of it. And it serves me. Yeah, because doesn't mean I honor the people, but the story, yeah, whatever. So, and I would never have thought about, being interested in self, when you imagine the loss of interest in self, you're imagining it with you as self. So you can't get out of this thing. So when you see that you're not in it, that's the being out of it. So emotional uproar happens, but the you that thinks it's having it produces a whole other amount of baggage that isn't actually happening.
Exactly.
Or it's happening, but it is not caused by the emotional upheaval. It's caused by there's a you that's being affected by the emotional upheaval, and you're not that fucking you. This is the dilemma. Yeah. So, yeah, I try to say it as clearly as possible from this view.
Thank you. Yeah.
And the frequency in Buddhism and stuff, they call it like the celestial spheres. Yes. And there is, you hear things that are not being generated. They're self-generated. And some people, when they were first introduced to it, I was having it happen a lot in the East Coast to people from Staten Island. They started hearing this hum in their head. And I said, yes, yes, yes. And they had never heard it before. But when they heard it, then you've always heard it. Yeah. Because it's always there in the back. But if you're living from the background, it's always there. Yeah. Instead of, a lot of people are living in the background, but their head is getting sucked into the foreground, where then a lot of those activities that are going on, you're not aware of. Yes. But that's just because the interest got sucked into the foreground. This, I feel, in a way, what the spiritual condition does, it reintroduces you to the background where that's where you can rest. That's where peace of mind is enjoyed. And again, I would use it symbolically with the before bondage and after bondage. It's the before bondage. Never been touched by all the shenanigans that happened after the bondage. Nothing, ever. It's still pristine and gorgeous and empty. Yeah. You find solace there. It's a nice, it's like living in a house not knowing it has 6 extra bedrooms that face the lagoon. Yeah. Wow, it's incredible. All the while I was just looking out the front door, watching the traffic go by, bitching about shit. And then finally something happened. I was introduced. I got these 6 bedrooms with balconies hanging over the water. Fucking great. I think I'll live in the back of the house. So now you live in the back of the house, and the traffic that used to really drive you crazy in the front of the house doesn't drive you as crazy anymore. Yeah. Because you're now residing.
Turn it out.
It was always, all of it was your house, but now you're residing in the back of the house instead of being at the front of the house. Have you ever drove into some areas where there's someone sitting at a curtain looking outside? It's fucking insane. And then they have a website called Nextdoor, and they start saying, did you see the suspicious person? And then someone would say, the only suspicious person is you, sitting at your fucking window looking at suspicious people. This is the same thing as the head. Yeah. So, hey.
Yeah, totally.
All right. That's it, I think.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, everyone.
Thanks, Paul.
Oh, Smitty came in late. Kathleen, you got the best. Yes. Nice to see you, Kathleen. Kathy, Cleveland, Axel, Miak, Miss Volkman, Michael Stacy, Rico Cruz. Oh, Rico, nice to see you again. Joseph C. Tom, my dear Morale there in California. Lori, John, Mickey. Yes, Mickey. Martin, Darren. Nice to see you, Darren. Walter, Mike M, Jesse from Ireland. Nice to see Jesse. Oliver, Ruben, John K, Matt. Let me go here. Phone number, Lisa, Ben, Rob, Kentucky, Paula, Grateful Dave. Yeah, day at a time, Grateful Dave. John K, Kathy in Quebec. Ruben, Oliver, Mike, Matt G. Oh, Matt, nice to see you. Walter, I think I have everyone. Martin. Hey, thank you so much. And we're going to be back east, and I think the information's finally up on the website. We'll be there in about 2 weeks. It'll be nice to see some people live. If you're actually alive, or is this a Zoom recording? That would be weird, wouldn't it?
That would be really weird.
AI took over Michael Stacy's life. Michael's just hanging out with his dogs and having a whole other life called the Zoom life of Michael Stacy. Wow. All right. Hey, listen, thank you.
Paul, can I ask you something?
Yes.
Are you going to stay now and talk with Michael Stacy? And would you like the service team members who are here to stay?
Yes. I don't want to, but I will. I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Michael, can you stay for 5 minutes?
Sure can. Yeah, not a problem.
All right.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, guys. Well, for everyone else, adios. We'll see you out later.